Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the MyHealthChecked PLC half-year results investor presentation. Throughout this presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and can be submitted at any time using the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Just please simply type in your question and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company will review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it's appropriate to do so. These will be available via your Investor Meet Company dashboard, and we will notify you by email when they're ready for your review. I'd also like to remind you that this presentation is being recorded. Before we begin, we would like to submit the following poll, and we would be very grateful if you would give that your kind attention. And now I'd like to hand over to Gareth Davis, CFO, and Penny McCormick, CEO from MyHealthChecked PLC. Good afternoon to you both.
Good afternoon, Mark. Thank you for the introduction, and good afternoon, everybody. Pleasure to be here with you today. For those of you meeting us for the first time, as Mark said, I'm Penny McCormick. I'm the CEO of MyHealthChecked. I joined the business at the end of 2019, and I'm pleased for the opportunity to be able to give you an update at this point. And Gareth, our COO, CFO, who joined us just over 3 months ago.
Good afternoon, everybody, and look forward to sharing some update on the company with you.
Okay, so just moving straight in, I just want to share some headlines from what has been an extremely eventful, a very positive year for us. So the real headlines as we see them, we've undertaken a couple of strategic acquisitions in the last year, and we've quickly monetized those new assets. We're extremely well placed vertically. We've got a lab in license, technology, and we've got science behind us, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that in this session. We've efficiently deployed our capital. Those 2 acquisitions have been paper-based transactions, enabling us to invest cash from the business that we've generated through our operations into our talent acquisition and operations. We've got proven skilled execution. Just in the last few months alone, we've really proven delivery and exceeded market expectations in our mind, and whilst building a slick operation and commercial, where we have secured cornerstone retail relationships, and we're very well placed to continue capturing revenue within the COVID space, but also that large addressable market beyond COVID that's very, very key to our future business. Just to tell you a little bit more flavour about the wider team for those of you that are new to us, as well as a really strong, lean but experienced management team back at our bases in Cardiff and Manchester. We also have behind us strength of board, industry stalwarts in the diagnostic space, but I'd like to call out today Laura Moore, who's recently joined our board from the 1st of October. Laura has a background in consumer wellness and healthcare, including some time at Unilever, and was actually the CEO and founder of Now Health, who we acquired earlier this year. And also Neil Mesher, who is the CEO of Philips. Actually, it was UK and Ireland. It's now the UK and Europe. So a real strength with Neil on our board. You know, we've got a team of people behind us who are extremely committed to the future of the organisation. Again, just to give a visual representation of a bit of our journey for those of you that are new to MyHealthChecked, and really starting the transition and the evolution into a new phase of the organisation. That began 18 months ago, where we relocated our business to South Wales from the southeast of England, really marking the start of a new chapter for us, taking us out of that very crowded tech space and into South Wales, where there's a really strong life science presence. Strong university links are there for us in future with Cardiff University, for which Gareth and myself have both got big links. We then, through our journey, we then acquired the Genome Store at the end of 2020, launched our COVID testing business with a PCR test at the very end of last year, securing some strong retail contracts, which we'll touch on again, key people into our organisation, most notably Gareth, just over 3 months ago, and then a second acquisition of Now Health, further retail contract with Lloyds, and also then our stage 3 accreditation. So a really good, clear movement through the last 18 months. And while we've got this slide up, I just want to clarify around the 2 acquisitions that we've made and actually what they involve and why we made those acquisitions, why they were so key to us. So again, for the benefit of those new to My Health Checked, the Genome Store in November 2020 was a small pre-revenue organisation, but packed with talent and experience around scientific DNA testing and the operations and regulations around that. So this was an entrepreneurial team who've worked in the industry, big DNA pedigree behind them, from operational right through to clinical director level, have come on board with an ambition to create a range of DNA tests moving forward that can really impact people's well-being. But what that gave us immediately when we acquired them was the ability to enter the COVID PCR testing space. And within 6 weeks of acquiring the Genome Store, we were able to start monetizing that acquisition by selling PCR tests. So within just 6 weeks, we were on the government list and we were providing product out into the marketplace. Moving forward to earlier this year in July, we acquired Nell Health. So a similar template of a small team of very knowledgeable professionals, but their primary skill set was around software technical development, and they already had a digital platform in place. And then also the nutritional guidance so that they could give people instruction on what they needed to do once they tested their DNA. So whilst they were also responsible for defining the exact SNPs and tests that they wanted, they were actually getting those produced by a third party. So with the Nell acquisition, we got software experience, the nutrition experience, and also the medical experience. So Dr. Gavin Ralston joins our Brains Trust as part of that acquisition. So what we have there, 2 businesses, both lean, both pre-revenue, but with really, really strong capability and knowledge within the team. So bringing in the Genome Store, science and operation, Nell Health, software and nutrition. And actually we found through both of those acquisitions, when we were talking to either party, we could have been talking to the other. There was such a synergy on the ambition and the potential that they felt that was there for us. And I think as we've proven this year, we've already made a great start on bringing those together and moving forward with the same mindset. So just in terms of financial highlights, obviously it's been a very strong year for us and a very dynamic space within COVID. So I'm just going to hand over to Gareth just to touch on those financials.
Thank you, Penny, and I'm delighted to share with you today a strong set of numbers for the first half of the year. From a revenue point of view, we delivered substantial revenue growth in the first half, delivering over 3.2 million revenue, compared to just 12,000 for the same period last year. And that represents something like 25,000% growth year on year over the same period in the prior year. So fantastic result from a revenue standpoint. And that obviously helped us to reduce the losses in the period significantly, reducing them from 1.1 million losses in 2020 to just under 200,000 for the same period this year. So fantastic to be able to close those losses for the same period. In terms of our cash position, as you know, we did a share placing of back in February 2021 this year, raising 3.4 million before expenses. And if we allow for the small loss in that period and then obviously investment in inventory during that period as we ramped up for the busy summer months for COVID testing kits that we were producing, we ended the period with 2.2 million of cash, giving us a very strong balance sheet going into the second half of the year. In terms of Q3, and as you can see from the graph on the right-hand side of the slide, you can see that we had a very ambitious outlook for Q3. I'm pleased to say that we've achieved that figure, which is 8.55 million revenue for the quarter, giving us again a substantial revenue figure for the quarter and a very strong financial position going into Q4.
Okay, thanks, Gareth. So looking now at some of the commercial and operational highlights for this year, and of course I'm going to focus on those two significant contracts, actually 3 significant contracts that we've secured with Boots and Lloyds. So a different kind of contractual arrangement with both parties, and just to give a little bit of flavour around those. So the Boots agreement, we entered a very, very lengthy due diligence process with Boots some months ago, actually very early to when we had early on from when we'd entered the space here, and that took until April. So it was extremely rigorous. We were dealing with the pharmacy and clinical directors within Boots. Obviously, this was a big strategic decision for Boots to move into this space. And when we look back, it's easy to think, oh, well, COVID, we're all so familiar with it now. But actually, it was a big gamble for Boots at that time, because COVID is always unknown. There's a huge degree of uncertainty there. It has quite a complex supply chain. You've got a testing kit, and then you've got that follow-up laboratory service for which you need to really be able to control what's in the marketplace, and also have a very good oversight of what's in the marketplace, so that once the customer bought the kit, that they will then be able to send their sample back and have the delivery. And Boots were really leading the way and committing to that and investing significantly. So we entered an extremely detailed process with them, and we delivered for them. Which for a business that was very new to this space, it's an enviable position that we secured with them, and one that's given us this fantastic foundation, not just around the reputation and the ability to deliver with them moving forward, but actually, if we look at the stats there, just in terms of 10 million Advantage card holders, for example, Boots have shared that 75% of their female customers over the age of 15 75% of all women in the UK over the age of 15 hold a Boots Advantage card. So really, really impressive stats there, and an ability for us to take the new brand that we created at the end of last year, and really get that out into the hands of UK customers. And then to secure the Lloyds business, after securing 2 contracts with Boots, number 1 for their Fit to Fly. So we are still the only provider of a Fit to Fly test within Boots. To then have the same position within Lloyds just really is that cornerstone in terms of credibility. And what that will bring us moving forward, it's given us that excellent brand reach, and actually a relationship with these customers that, certainly in my experience, having dealt with Boots and Lloyds for many years, is unprecedented. With Boots, we speak to them several times a week. COVID is evolving; it will continue to evolve, and it's making sure that we are there with them, as they navigate the landscape and continue to do that, and be well placed then to have discussions with them around our future business, which is what we do. They are very clear on our strategic intention and what we're about as an organisation, and they view us as an extremely trusted provider. So those operational highlights here, we've talked about the lab and building that operation swiftly and efficiently. An initial 120k investment there, and we've had a small scale up in our lab as well. I want to just draw attention to Eugene and EKF, real trusted partners there, where we've sourced product and brought it into the business and also offered it as a service. What we've delivered here, securing a business like Boots, us as a trusted partner also relies on the service that we receive from our own suppliers and the relationship that we built there. And relationships within the supply chain is critical to COVID, and again, that will stand us in great stead moving forward. And together with these partners, we've delivered extremely well. To date, there's over 250,000 tests that we know have been used by end users. And again, thinking about us just in our first year under this new brand and under this new model, is a fantastic achievement to say that that's the level of reach that we've achieved. So, these are some strong facts here that we can't argue with, that will only stand us in good stead moving forward. In terms of post-period highlights, again, a real demonstration of strong delivery here for us and the team behind us back at the office. So I talked about that complexity of the supply chain, going from a build and that forecasting around that right through to delivery into retail. That's been, we've had sort of peaks and high demand through a very busy summer period, and delivering that whilst we maintain service levels from really quite a newly established team and model. So we've delivered that. In terms of diversification, of course, we're going to focus on Boots and Lloyds, of course we are, but we also have a customer base within occupational health, academia, travel and media industries. And all of these customers that we're reaching are all potential customers for us moving forward as we roll out a wider portfolio under our brand. Commercial discussions will continue within the COVID-19 testing sector. We're picking up new customers on a regular basis. And we are, as I've mentioned, continuing to talk to our key customer base about their further requirements. It's about testing, it's also about services, and it's also about the digital interface and making sure that we're getting better and better all the time and responding to the need of our customers. So then just talking 3 and 4 here, just talking for a moment about Now Health and that strategic implementation. We've integrated both of our acquisitions very, very well and demonstrated that they were the right decisions and a strong integration. So we, with Now, that brought us that platform that I talked about. And earlier this year, just in August, we actually migrated across the platform that we already had onto this strength of platform from Now. So very quickly, we moved that across to further enhance our foundations. So the platform that we built, that we got into Boots, this is a platform that's so good that Boots are really happy to direct their customers through it. Every single user of one of our tests goes to our platform. So we've now made it even better. We've put it onto this strength of platform that we acquired as part of the Now acquisition. And I'm just going to talk about COVID briefly. We're very, the future beyond COVID is extremely exciting, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But for now, before we do that, I just want to just take a moment to group on COVID and actually look at what we're dealing with today. We're dealing with government rules that throughout this year have fluxed. They've tightened and they've loosened, and along the way, we've been there to provide a service. There's been uncertainty from day one on COVID. And I think uncertainty will continue. We've got a big change coming up that was announced by the government last month. And we're going to see those changes. We don't have a date yet, but we'll see those changes come into force now, we expect in the next couple of weeks. So, what do we expect throughout that? We cannot predict this space, but we know that uncertainty is two-way, and our job is to be well positioned to respond to that. And we also know that PCR remains the gold standard. And whilst there will be a heavy increase in lateral flow testing, of course, there's still very much a place for PCR testing. And depending on what the outcomes of this mass lateral testing program is, the Times this morning just talking about false negatives with school children. We don't know how this is going to play out in the coming months, and that could lead to a change in testing protocols. We know that cases are increasing. Just in this quarter, there's been a 42% increase in daily cases. And when we look to market reporting, there seems to be a consistent message that testing has longevity. So there's a potential to grow there to 2023, seems to be the market consensus there. So we do anticipate that there will be an ongoing revenue stream. When we look at where we sit within the testing environment, we are well positioned to respond. So the Hardman report that was just released in the last couple of weeks talks about 30 COVID testing labs in the UK, of which we're listed as one of those. So there's a select number of specialists there, but we occupy a unique space there where we're a testing laboratory. We've also built our own laboratory information management system. So a lot of labs out there are actually using a third-party LIMS, is what we call it, the LIMS system, which takes all the data from the lab and results, and then it interacts with the end user to give them their testing certificate. So we use our own LIMS. We've designed it ourselves and it's excellent. So that's a proprietary platform that we've built. And then we also have that direct-to-consumer sales channel and that retail presence under our own brand. So we're uniquely placed within the number of providers out there as the market evolves moving forward and as we roll out our portfolio, to really be lean in our operation, but really learn from the customer. We're front and center with what our customers actually want and how they're interacting with our tech, and that will inform what we do, how we do it, and what comes out of our laboratory. Along the way, our turnaround times, or TAT, and our Trustpilot scores have been consistently strong. So we're typically, at the very least, a very, very high 99% of TAT, so more or less 100% of test results received within 36 hours. And Trustpilot now over 2,000 reviews with a scoring of 4.2, which is absolutely excellent. This is a real trust-driven market. There's pricing and there's trust, and we're really happy with how we've capped off both of those within this year. And as I mentioned, the relationships that we've worked hard to establish this year will keep us engaged in further customer discussions. So as customer needs change and evolve, we're very well placed to deliver on that. So the COVID space, before we move on, let's just take a moment on what that has meant for us. It's made us, or it's enabled us, the opportunity to accelerate our journey, to make us cash positive and highly profitable in less than a year. We've delivered rapid growth, so it's given us the opportunity to prove ourselves that we can do it, and we've delivered it extremely well. It's given us that brand reach I mentioned, whereby we're now, we're over 250,000 tests being used out in the market, all of them using the MYHEALTHCHECKED product. And those tier one cornerstone retail relationships, which will stand us in good stead moving forward, and a technical platform that we own that's already operational and delivering to a strong customer base. So looking to use that then to leverage our position moving forward as we move on from COVID. So the industry's been extremely focused on COVID, and that goes for our customer base as well. So customers, I think we're now at a point where that attention is starting to turn away from COVID. It's critical. So the government announcements last month are, that's a huge change for Boots and a huge focus for them at the moment. But retail are starting to look ahead at what comes next. And there's been an evolution here. So Deloitte just this year, that in their report, they state that this shift, we're dealing with a much more health literate person who's the ultimate decision maker and is at the centre of their own health. And we're going to see that increasingly come into play when we look at the pressure on the NHS, for instance, and how people, they expect disruption to services. We're getting used to it taking longer to get an appointment. We're understanding that we need to look at plan B and try to do things differently. And also, we widely hear that the NHS recovery from COVID is going to take a long time, and some question whether the NHS will fully recover. Pharmacy services are going to be more critical. They've really changed. Going into your pharmacist and having a nasal swab or a test, it didn't used to happen to the level it does now. But also pharmacists and the services that they offer, organisations are looking to change that and see how they can most effectively utilise their resource. Awareness of personal wellness factors. Many of us have been touched by COVID in our family and in our friendship groups, and we've lost loved ones through it. So that thinking about, how can we look after ourselves and what role we can play is going to continue. Deloitte talk about genomics as a forerunner, and really thinking about whether you're looking at a more personalised approach, just in terms of how you care for yourself, or whether you're looking at further ahead to personalised medicine. Genomics is considered to be a branch of science that's only going to come further and further to the front as the health service evolves, and that mindset change around me being responsible for me. And the corporate social responsibility. So we've seen a huge shift in workplace behaviours and attendance, and CSR is now a strategic priority. So just to touch on that now, at different levels, organisations are, they're interacting with people in the office some of the time, but those that are calling people in need to make absolutely sure that they're looking after them, or they're going to be answerable to those decisions. And for those that are allowing people the flexibility to work from home or developing a hybrid model, well, they're not going to be seeing and feeling their workforce up close and personal to the level that they did. So they will be vested in making sure that people are well. So this is a really exciting time for consumer healthcare. There's going to be a greater emphasis on work-life balance and wellness, considering all dimensions of health, and also those digital approaches that employers can really point you towards, that they're going to have the confidence to help you in, will become more and more of interest. And then looking at how consumer behaviour has changed, and I've got an extract here from The Sun just last week. They wrote an article, it was actually an interview with Seb James, the CEO of Boots, talking about how they are going to be offering pharmacy appointments to deal with a certain selection of ailments that people can directly get help with instead of going to their GP. And there was a short poll at the end of that asked readers, would you pay £15 to bypass a GP queue? And just shy of 65% of Sun readers. So this isn't people who are used to paying a little bit extra for healthcare or going that extra mile themselves. This is the general population that previously was only used to going to their healthcare provider and receiving treatment on the NHS and care, whereas now we're used to using tests for going on holiday, for instance. So there's been that real shift in behaviour, and how that's manifested and demonstrated is, we talk about PCR, we talk about lateral flow tests. We're used to sticking something up our nose and sending it off in the post and logging on and getting a result. It's just become the norm now. We're used to it. So that acceptance of change is very much there within the market. There's a desire to know about my personal risk. I think we can say with confidence that anybody in the last 12 months who's bought an antibody lateral flow test from a retailer or online is simply finding out of interest, have I got antibodies? So they may use that in a very small way to think about the vaccine, but I think in general we can take from that, I just want to know out of interest what my antibody level is, and how fascinating, 2 years ago, we never would have thought that people would be talking about antibodies, let alone doing a test out of interest to find out what their levels were. So a huge shift, and that greater awareness of personal well-being impact, the role I will play on keeping myself well so that I am not part of a burden on the NHS moving forward. So a huge shift in consumer behaviour. Thinking ahead to market trends, and Hardman & Co. recently issued a report, and they identified some trends that they believe will continue to drive growth in this area. And this really resonated with our strategy moving forward. So when we look at point 1 here, demographics, we have prioritised the opportunities that come with exploring what Hardman call soft diseases, allergies and food tolerance, and really thinking about their impact on the longer term. So our aim is to really educate consumers and tell them more about how their own personal well-being and how their own body interacts with external factors is going to have an impact on them in the longer term. And also point 3 there, lifestyle, that focus on preventative healthcare. I started my consumer healthcare career in 2005 when I joined BBI, and we talked a lot about preventative healthcare, but it just wasn't something that was really out there. I think we've arrived at that point now, 16 odd years later, we are becoming much more attuned into this, and it's been accelerated. And Hardman also points out that this would include the trend towards direct-to-consumer activities, which is where we sit. So I think within those 4 areas they've identified, we strategically prioritise 2 of those. when we look towards precision medicine moving forward, and think about personalisation of drugs and that the ongoing testing of those, again, we've got the ability, to look at how that market evolves and are well placed and to be responsive to the customer. We have our strategy and vision moving forward, but actually this market is really going to be evolving in the next few years, and keeping a close eye on that and being agile enough to respond is something that we've already proven that we're extremely focused on doing and well set up for. So just looking at the market again, we've shared market information before, and we can point you to the Hardman piece, and also Seal have put a piece of research out into the market this morning. So there's strong growth information there, and COVID's only accelerated that. But again, just drawing your attention to the comment from Deloitte that that DNA testing increasingly used as an indicator of biology and one of the forerunners of this new future era. So it's really exciting to be in this space. So thinking now about our future portfolio, so we're really, really excited to be launching new products in the first quarter of next year. We've absolutely focused on in 2021 on COVID testing. We didn't come here to be a flash in the pan. We weren't here to be one of the many hundreds of companies that simply jumped on a bandwagon and set up a front-facing trading entity, leaning on a third-party lab provider, having no clue about how you provide tests to the end user. We were not interested in that space. We wanted to come here with a strategy to really establish ourselves and gain a fantastic reputation in this place, and make sure that we provide time and time again for our customers, because we would need that to build upon our future plans. So that's what we've done. So in the first quarter of next year, we'll launch an initial 5 testing panels that are focused on some of the most common areas that people can really, really understand around weight, heart health, glucose management, intolerance, and nutritional deficiencies. So some of the areas that are going to most impact them, but also looking at that glucose management and cardiac health, where we as a nation have got, we're heading towards a problem. So we're starting to take those steps with working with our customers to really improve their health and well-being. The service and portfolio we offer isn't just about tests though, it's about platform. So as we said, every single person who uses one of our COVID tests also uses our platform. And this was why the NAL acquisition was so important to us. So we already have this fabulous platform within the organization that we can build upon, that allows us to take the results of tests and analyze them for our wellness tests and give a result to the end user. It then gives them insights that are actionable, so they can immediately start making improvements. They will be able in future to add in partner data to that, and also customers can input. So they can really understand a lot about themselves and the improvements that they're making along the way. But of course, as I've mentioned earlier, that information then informs us moving forward and helps us, these are our customers, and it will tell us exactly what they're doing and how we can further help them. So that platform is live, it's scalable and adaptable, and gives us a very, very strong and robust foundation that's got a really good user experience and will only continue to improve. So that will then switch over to a mobile application coming in the second half of next year. So it'll be initially a web app, and then it'll move into a mobile app that we want to give affordable guidance, allow people to track behaviours, great information for them, and just constantly building new features that add value to the customer. In terms of expected milestones, we've just laid those out clearly for everybody to refer to. And I will reiterate again, what's happened with COVID this year, and certainly the level of contract that we've secured did change things for us this year. And we're very comfortable with the decisions we've made around where our priorities have lay in 2021. But moving forward now, as we look beyond COVID, we are live at this point, discussing with our customer base around any further ongoing requirements as the market evolves. but moving very quickly into that quarter one stage testing. Personalised wellness then in the second half of next year, where we will be bringing a proposition to the market that's really unique around how customers are selecting their products, and as I said, that real personalised experience that's going to be unique to them. And we look forward to sharing more detail with that when it becomes non-sensitive. You know, as a consumer business, that's just starting out. There's limited information that we can share with our investors because it's highly sensitive. You know, we want to come into this space and really make an impact. And once we're more established in the longer term, and we've got those plans already, you know, bedded in, and our strategy is out there and proven, we're going to be able to share more information much more quickly. But right now, we really want to make an impact, and what we share with the market, there's going to be limitations around that. Our customer experience is key to everything we do, and that ongoing improvement around that platform, really making sure that we have a robust app out in the marketplace in Q3 next year, and then building onto additional diagnostic tests that we believe will add value to our customer base. So we already, you know, we buy in our test kits at the moment. We will continue to buy in kits and then integrate them with our wider business and our app. So we can be flexible around that, and really, as that market evolves, be extremely responsive. So just to summarise now, in our short to medium term horizon, we've touched on our at-home wellness tests that are a key priority for us moving forward. You know, we're really excited about this new phase of our business. Developing the app technology with those actionable outcomes and guidance to end users. Executing a business development strategy across DTC and retail, and also B2B moving forward. We've started those foundations. We're still within year one. We're looking forward to moving into year two. Continuing to build that reputation in the testing space with a high quality product and service. Bringing additional top talent into our business to deliver on our ambitious plans. You know, it's how this market has evolved. There's great employment opportunities for people. You know, we need to make sure that we bring in top talent, look after them, nurture them, and give them opportunities within our organisation. And we've already started to demonstrate that this year. Continue to explore third-party technology and really keep a close eye on what's out there and what's going to be complementary to us. And especially where we see those partnerships as being earnings enhancing. So we think the two acquisitions we've made, we've proven that they've been earnings enhancing. They've really allowed us to become a cash generative business. So we will continue to be discerning in our approach and strategic as we move forward and look at partnership, in licensing, and M&A opportunities. And just nearing the end of the presentation now, just to touch on current trading and outlook. You know, it has been a strong year for us, and we're confident that trading for the full year is going to, of course, deliver us a strong performance as we've delivered through those high demand months. We're not putting forward-looking statements out into the market now for the rest of this year, because we know that the COVID space is unpredictable and ebbs and flows. But we can point you to research. There's two key pieces of research that are out in the market. One of those by Oberon and Seal that's gone out into the marketplace this morning that illustrate a very positive outlook. And just to reiterate, you know, we're extremely well placed with this customer base now to continue to supply the current COVID space, but also the non-COVID space. So key takeaways ahead. For us just to finish on before we open up to questions. As a business, we have proven that we're lean, we're ambitious, we're extremely skilled, and we've delivered. We did everything that we said we would this year, so that was extremely important to us, and we have delivered. We've got a proven capability in DNA testing with the infrastructure to develop a further portfolio of products, which our team is currently working on. We've got an experienced leadership team with expertise in commercializing medical technology, and we've built a lean but strong team within the key areas of our business: commercial, operational, tech, and scientific. We've built a strong reputation with retailers and end users alike, and we have delivered significant growth and become cash generative in 2021. So we said we're very well placed to build on a global drive for wellness, and it's been what we see as an impressive start to our journey. And as Brits, you'd understand that that's not something that is easy to say, but we do believe we've made an impressive start to our journey, and now our focus is very much on sustaining that and continuing to be a strong player within this marketplace. So that concludes the slides from our presentation. We hope that's given everybody a sufficient update on the business and also shared our future plans, which is so critical moving forward. I'd like to just hand back now to Mark. I think you've got some questions have come in that we can answer on behalf of our shareholders and interested parties.
That's great. Penny, Gareth, thank you so much for updating investors this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, please do continue to submit your questions using the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. But just while the company take a few moments to review those investor questions submitted during today's meeting, I'd like to remind you that a recording of this presentation, along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A, can be accessed via your Investor Meet Company dashboard, and you will be notified when they're ready for your review. I'd also like to remind you that your feedback is important to the company, and immediately after this presentation is ended, we'll redirect you for the opportunity to provide feedback in order that the company can better understand your views and expectations. Never a long while between presenting and taking on a lot of questions, because you've received a number during today's meeting, but we did receive a few ahead of today's event, and I wondered, Penny, if I perhaps, and Gareth, if I could start with these. The first one reads as follows: what is the situation with MyLotus at present? And is this still expected to be a major part of the company in the future?
So the focus, as we've shared, has very much been on the COVID business and really strengthening our position there at retail. Should we bring MyLotus on board, it's going to stand us in extremely good stead moving forward. And when the fertility space switches back on, we always said if we did bring MyLotus to the market, or Milo as we rebranded, it would be on a digital platform, and we stand by that. So I think we've got a good asset here. We want to build the user interface and the app and really focus on that, and then potentially add on the fertility product in future should there be a market opportunity for it, as we evolve through this post-COVID space. But also there's a development investment required there that's not insignificant. So we would welcome the opportunity to partner with a third party on that, and really look at that moving forward. So it's still in our portfolio. It's not something that we're focused on at this point, but it is something that could come on board in the future if the market dictates that that's a good opportunity to do that, and with a third party investment behind it.
Thank you, Penny. Is MyHealthCheck looking at any international markets or customers for its at-home PCR tests?
Yeah, so we're very much focused on the UK. So it's a UK first approach, absolutely. And then we'll establish and prove our model, which has been the focus this year to start that journey. We will continue, it's still early days for us, so we will continue to prove and make that model robust. When it's established, we'll look to roll it out into other territories. But for now, it's absolutely UK first.
Thank you. Are there any particular type of conditions or health problems that MyHealthCheck are targeting their tests for?
Yes, I think we've answered that in the deck. We will continue to be extremely customer focused. We need to understand what our customers want and what they're looking for. And when I say customers, of course, I'm talking about end users and I'm talking about retailers. So focus groups with our retailers and really understanding their requirements over the coming months and beyond is going to be critical for us. So it's going to be an ongoing dialogue. It's going to be market-led, which is going to be the key, of course, to the success of any consumer-facing business. And as we secure that information, as this dynamic space evolves post-COVID, and we continue to learn more, we'll keep the market abreast of those developments.
Thank you. What regulatory constraints does MyHealthCheck face in order to provide significant health testing products to the market in the UK? Is there potential for tests to be marketed as diagnostic tools, or are they simply advisory?
Yeah, I think that, we have a diagnostic product in the market, and then we're bringing advisory products in as our phase 2 launch. Beyond that, regulatory limitations, the regulations are essential, and as I shared in some of my interviews in recent months, we welcome regulation. It's critical. I think moving forward, it's going to be essential to work with strong partners in this space, organisations who are really set up, day in, day out. Those regulations around diagnostics are key. So, for instance, we talked about EKF and Yourgene. They're operating in these spaces in terms of the products they put into market, and they therefore take responsibility for that burden. So, and that's their business model. They're sitting in a different part of the supply chain that requires that. So, our role at the moment is to be complementary and to be compliant around that. We've got ourselves to our 15189 independently. So we will stay close to the market, and the products we bring in, we will of course be compliant with the requirements, but we shouldn't limit ourselves in terms of diagnostics, because we can work with partners that operate within this space in terms of our future portfolio. So it's not just an insular view, it's working with experts in the space to together, commercialise products that are going to have most value to the end user.
Thank you very much, Penny. And I think finally, just on the pre-submitted questions before we turn to the live questions, does My Health Check expect to see its test in physical stores at some point in the first half of 22?
I'd hope so. I mean, again, we've got product in the market now. We're the only PCR test on the shelves in Boots right now, which is fantastic, and I get excited every time I go in and see it. And just to be clear, that wasn't always the intention. Boots had a plan to bring 2 different branded products out, but they never did. They just launched our own product. So we're already there. Moving forward, yeah, absolutely. That I'd love to have those products within the space next year. We'll continue our ongoing discussions, but that would be something that I would really love to see moving forward. But let's not forget, that we've seen a huge shift in shopper behaviour. The high street is going through a big transition. So really, online sales and our ability to control that channel. We're interacting directly with thousands and thousands of customers on a weekly basis with our own direct tests. So it's not all about retail shelves, but yes, it's lovely to see. But actually, the opportunities out there don't just stop there, and that's not where our focus stops.
Penny, great. And thank you very much to all those investors that took time to pre-submit questions. If I may, could I ask you guys to open the Q&A tab? You'll see that investors have submitted a number of questions throughout the live event. If I could ask you to read out the question, even who it's from, and give a response where it's appropriate to do so, and I'll catch up with you at the end.
Sure. So just having a look at some of these now, we're saying there's a question here saying, would My Health Checked consider developing a lateral flow test if it became a serious opportunity, as the PCR test was? So the lateral flow requirements could last for many years. Yes, they could. Thank you for your question. As the requirements for PCR tests could continue for many years. We don't have plans to develop a lateral flow test. There are many providers globally providing lateral flow tests in the COVID space. So it's not something that we don't have an intention to develop a lateral flow test at the moment. We're seeing the experts out there who are making improvements. It's still only ever going to be so accurate, but there are specialists out there that are investing a lot of time in improving those. It's not something that's on our radar. Is the Q3 2021 revenue of 8.5 predicted or received already today? I think Gareth's already.
Yeah, so obviously quarter three takes us up to the end of September, and pleased to say that that's been achieved.
We've got a question here specifically in relation to our retail contracts with Boots and Lloyds, asking the duration of those contracts and if they're subject to periodic review. So those contracts are for initial 12 months and then they're rolling. So that, we've talked about the service that we provide and making sure that our customers have a high level of satisfaction. and we're pleased to say, I think we can with confidence say that they are satisfied there. So it's a rolling contract, but these guys are, they have to provide a good service here, so it's not something that we would expect that they'd be looking to swap out, as long as the market is available and as long as we continue to provide a great service. So do we see opportunities for further acquisitions? Yeah, always. We are doing 2 acquisitions within the space of 9 months. That's something that I'm not committing that we'll be doing in the next 9 months. I'm really glad we did those. But yeah, absolutely, in terms of future further acquisitions moving forward, we've talked about how dynamic this space is. And we haven't really talked about the technology within that as well. We talked about testing, we talked about consumer behaviours, but actually there's great tech coming on board, and we've got the capabilities to integrate our tech with other products too. So I think as I said again, this is a really exciting time, and our job is to be really well placed and agile to the changes in the market. It's certainly the most exciting time since I've worked in the industry. So absolutely, we are always looking out, where we would like to be carrying out M&A activity. We've got an important meeting with our board and our management next month around strategy, which we will be doing on a regular basis, so that we can make sure that when we put those plans in place, like we did last year, that we actually we make the right decisions and we deliver the results for the business. There's a question here around, does the Genome Store have its own tests? So I think I've answered that one. The Genome Store came with a portfolio of tests that we've then integrated, and we've merged those in with what Nell brought to the table, and that's where we have our initial panel of 5 moving forward. There's a question on margins. Again, thinking about us as a consumer business and where we're at on our cycle, we're not going to discuss margins at this point, but as we further establish ourselves in the market, those margin considerations will be clear. There's a question here about the share price. So the company results today and projected revenue have been excellent. The share price has steadily dropped. Do you think we could do more to provide information to promote investment? I think, honestly, we're extremely focused on our business and delivering as part of our organisation. We've been laser focused this year to deliver the results that we've had, and that's our absolute priority as a management team and as a board. I don't want to be distracted by the share price. We have given updates when we could and where we've deemed them to be relevant to the market. And I think we just want to continue focusing on the business. We're committed to providing updates moving forward. And I think as we move through the COVID uncertainty, because ultimately that's the issue here around the COVID space and how that impacts the share price, we will continue to evolve and come out of that moving forward. But for now, I categorically say our focus is on delivering our business, delivering on our commitments, and making sure that in the future we can build a secure and growing, burgeoning business. And we look forward to reporting the success on that. And that's our #1 priority.
Penny, also, I think, with regards to the share price, I think the stock market, and I think probably investors think that at the end of October, PCR stops. That's the reason why I think the share price has been weak.
Yeah, I mean, we can't, people's view on the COVID space, no one can predict, and we can't change that. Our focus very much is on the business and always coming at this from a position of strength.
Just wanted to clarify this question here about the revenue. Is it per quarter or is it year to date? Pleased to say it's actually per quarter. So if you recall back in Q1, we had recently launched the product, so the revenues were just shy of 0.1 million. And then we went live with Boots in April. So therefore the revenue for Q2 3.17 was for almost just for the 2 months when we had that product live, and then 855. sorry, 8.55 for Q3. So if you combine that, that just takes us shy of 12 million for the year to date to the end of September. Just to clarify that question.
Okay, and then there's a question around personalised medicine. We touched on that in terms of some of those market trends. So asking, the question is whether personalised medicine will be adopted in the UK. I think it already is adopted in the UK. Will it be a growing sector? Yeah, I think there's a high likelihood that it will be, as we have a far more tailored approach. And it's we welcome that. We operate at this point, that initial portfolio we're bringing is at the softer end of that, but really getting people to think about themselves, and how they can optimize. We should all feel well. We should all be well. We should all be planning to live to a very ripe old age, and be, well and active, comfortable and happy in doing that. So yeah, I think questions about DNA profiling. Someone saying it makes sense that we're all DNA profiled. I think that's a debatable point, but I think certainly we absolutely will see a leaning towards personalised medicine, and with that I think will come an improved mindset. And someone's thanked us for an excellent presentation. So, and thank you. I think that's a good opportunity to conclude today, and just I want to say thanks again for everybody, and your ongoing interest and support in the organisation. It's been a great story to tell. We are, Gareth, myself, and the team, very focused on moving forward, which, as I said, is our priority. So yeah, look forward to keeping you abreast of developments.
Penny, Gareth, perfect timing with 2 minutes left to go to the hour. So thank you once again for updating investors this afternoon, and also to all the investors for the questions they've submitted. Could I please ask investors not to close this session, as we'll now automatically redirect you for the opportunity to provide your feedback in order that the management team can really better understand your views and expectations. It will take a few moments to complete, but I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of MyHealthChecked PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation. That now concludes today's session, so good afternoon to you all.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark.